This happened just last year. I had moved to Millwood, a small town where life felt simple and easy. I was 32, a social worker just trying to leave the chaos behind. The townspeople were friendly, and the festival for St. Martin's Day was about to start. I thought I'd finally found a home. When the festival night arrived, I stepped outside. The streetlights flickered on, and the smell of wood smoke filled the air. But something felt off. My house sat in an unusual silence while laughter echoed in the streets. I mingled with my neighbors, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching me. And then I heard a soft, rhythmic tapping against my window. I told myself it was probably just the wind. Still, a small shiver ran down my spine. Days passed. The tapping wouldn't go away. At first, it was faint, like a heartbeat. Then it turned into a persistent rhythm that woke me up at night. I began to hear muffled voices calling my name. I wondered if I was just tired, but it all felt real. I tried to shake it off. I needed to relax. One afternoon, while unpacking boxes in my backyard, I noticed a group of children playing near the edge of my yard. They were laughing softly, but not the usual happy kind. I watched them, both curious and uneasy. I wanted to go say hello, but as I stepped closer, they vanished. Just like that. My heart raced, and a cold sweat trickled down my back. That night, the tapping grew louder. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about those kids. Were they real? I thought I was losing my mind. When I tried to ask my neighbors, they looked at me like I was crazy. "Kids don't play here after dark," one said. I pressed them, asking again, but they just shrugged. I felt more isolated than ever. As days went by, the tapping turned urgent. I heard whispered voices calling my name, low and eerie. I felt as if I was being watched. Shadows moved in the corner of my vision, but I thought it was just my mind playing tricks. Then one night, I looked out my window. The street was empty. I wanted to call out, but nothing came out. Suddenly, a child's face appeared, pressed against the glass. They had wide eyes, searching for something. I gasped, but when I blinked, they were gone. I stood frozen, my heart pounding. Had I lost my grip on reality? The last thing I remember thinking was, is this what I came to Millwood for? Then a whisper came through the dark, soft and chilling. "Why did you come here, Emma?" My breath caught. I stared into the darkness, fear creeping in around me. What did it mean? And why was I all alone? I still can't explain that night. I couldn't figure it out. I had come to heal, but Millwood held secrets I wasn't ready for. The next day, I woke up feeling even more drained. I trudged through my morning routine, pouring coffee with heavy hands, trying to shake off the eerie calm that surrounded me. I couldn't let fear consume me. I needed to work. My job as a social worker meant I was there for others. This was just another hurdle. As I left my house, the cool air felt sharper than before, biting into my skin. I wondered if I should go on a walk. Maybe I'd run into someone who could finally explain what happened. I decided to take the path near the park. It was peaceful, and the sun filtered through the trees, casting small patterns on the ground. That I tried to focus on the day's tasks, visiting clients, checking in on families. But every time I returned home, the atmosphere felt heavy. The tapping was back, louder and more insistent. Each beat echoed in my mind. I knew I had to confront it, but how? That evening, I sat up with a notebook, trying to jot down everything I was experiencing. My pen scratched the paper while I listened intently to the sounds around me. Just then, there was a knock at my door. My heart jumped in my chest. I half expected to see a child standing there. I opened the door slowly, only to face Mrs. Thompson, my elderly neighbor. She looked anxious. "Emma," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Can we talk? It's about the kids. The ones you saw." I felt a mix of surprise and dread. How could she know? "What do you mean?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Please, come inside. She stepped in without waiting for my approval. We settled on the couch, and I could feel her unease radiating off her. I've been watching you ever since you moved in, she began. You're special, in a way. You sense things others don't. It's important you listen. I was taken aback. Special? Listen. I wanted to ask her what she meant by that, but I was too stunned. The children you saw, they're not what you think, she continued, avoiding my gaze. They were here before. They need help, and only you can see them. What do you mean I can see them? Why do they need help? My mind raced with questions, confusion clouding my thoughts. Mrs. Thompson sighed, her face creasing with concern. It's the spirit of Millwood. The night of St. Martin's is special for them. If you ignore them, they won't go away. You must help them before it's too late. Panic washed over me. I didn't want to believe her, but the tapping, the whispering voices, the child's face at my window, it all felt too real. What happens if I don't? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked me straight in the eye. Then they'll take something from you, something you can't get back. Before I could ask what she meant, the room grew colder. I heard a distinct tapping sound coming from my window. It was almost like a warning. I felt a shiver run down my spine, and my breath quickened. Then everything went dark. The room seemed to close in around me, shadows stretching ominously. Emma! Mrs. Thompson cried, her voice cutting through the silence. I could barely see her, but I could feel her fear. I tried to call out, but nothing came. In that moment, I realized I had a choice. Face whatever this was, or let it consume me. I don't know how long I was in the dark. It felt like an eternity, but then the shadows receded, and light returned in a rush. I blinked, disoriented, and found myself back on my couch, with Mrs. Thompson leaning over me, concern etched on her face. Are you all right? She asked, her voice shaky. I nodded slowly, still trying to grasp what had just happened. What just occurred? I croaked, my throat dry. I remembered the tapping and the weight of the shadows. I wanted answers, but my mind struggled to find them. It's the spirit, she said, words flowing like a stream. It's connected to you now. You must help those children if you want to be free from it. They're trapped in a cycle. You need to find out how to break it. What do you mean break it? The chill from before lingered in the air, and unease twisted in my stomach. She hesitated. You must uncover their story. Look for clues in Millwood. All this is tied to the land, to the past. You'll find the answers, but time is running out. Before I could respond, Mrs. Thompson's eyes flickered to the window. The tapping returned, sharper than before. My heart raced again. Go, she urged, rising to her feet. Follow the sound. Trust it. I can't help you anymore. Wait. I called out, but she was already moving toward the door. I felt panic rise within me. You can't just leave. She paused briefly. You can do this, Emma. You're stronger than you think. She stepped out into the hallway, leaving me alone again. The tapping persisted, insistent. I took a deep breath, my resolve hardening. Whatever was happening, I couldn't ignore it any longer. With hesitant steps, I approached the window. I pushed it open, and a rush of cool air swept through the room. There was nothing outside, just the darkened street and the silhouettes of trees. My eyes scanned the yard, looking for anything, but only shadows greeted me. Then I heard it more whispering than tapping. Soft voices, like children playing. I strained to listen, trying to catch words that seemed pulled just out of reach. Help us find us. I could feel the cold of the night creeping in, but a fire burned within me. Was I really ready to do this? Something deep inside me urged me on. I slipped on my shoes, heart pounding with urgency, and stepped outside onto the worn path of my front yard. Everything felt different. The very air crackled with electricity, and the familiar surroundings warped under the weight of what I was discovering. I moved slowly down the path, following the sound of laughter and the ghostly urging that seemed to beckon me further into the darkness. As I walked, the whispers grew clearer, more insistent. "Over here, help us." That S when I saw it, a faint glow coming from the old oak tree at the edge of the park. It pulsed gently, almost like a heartbeat. I hurried towards it, hesitation mingling with a sense of purpose. I had no idea what awaited me there, but I knew one thing for sure. Whatever it was, it held the key to break this cycle. And as the voices swirled around me, I could feel their urgency. I was running out of time. The glow from the oak tree drew me closer, my feet moving almost on their own. As I approached, the laughter morphed into soft giggles, sounding both joyful and desperate. I felt an odd mixture of excitement and fear. What was waiting for me in the illuminating light? The tree loomed overhead, its gnarled branches twisting like a set of skeletal arms reaching out. I stopped a few steps away, captivated by the soft golden shimmer that wrapped around the trunk. I could hear whispers clearer now, a gentle current of words flowing through the air. "Find us, help us." I could almost see shapes darting between the shadows cast by the branches. My heart thudded painfully in my chest as I reached out, fingers brushing the bark. It felt warm to the touch, alive in a way that didn't make sense. Suddenly, the glow intensified, bathing everything in a bright light. And then silence. The giggles stopped as abruptly as they had begun. I squinted, trying to make sense of what was before me. From the shadows, 3 figures emerged, small, indistinct shapes with glowing eyes. They were children. Their faces shimmered, features flickering in and out of focus like old film. "We're stuck," one child said, a girl with long, dark hair that flowed like smoke. "You have to help us." My heart leapt at her words, a rush of urgency overwhelming me. "How? What do you need from me?" I felt the question echo through the trees, bouncing back like a chorus of lost souls. "Find the key, Emma," the boy in the middle said, his voice a faint whisper. "It's the only way." "What key?" I asked, confusion swirling in my mind. But before they could answer, the light dimmed, and the shadows thickened again. Fear clawed at me. I could feel something change in the air, becoming heavier, as if the world was holding its breath. I stepped back, not wanting to lose them, not wanting them to disappear again. "Please!" I shouted, desperation lacing my voice. "Don't go!" But the figures flickered, and suddenly, they were gone, leaving only a stillness around the oak tree. I felt the wind swirl around me, nipping at my edges, and the whispers returned, but they were sadder now, like echoes of a forgotten past. I was left standing there, confused and shaken. If I was going to help them, I needed to understand what they meant by the key. I scanned the ground around the tree, frantically looking for anything that could offer a clue. Then, my gaze fell upon something glinting beneath the leaves. I bent down, heart racing, and pulled away the debris. My fingers brushed against an old, rusty key with intricate designs etched into its surface. As I held it in my palm, a shiver ran down my spine. I didn't know what door it opened or if it even would, but somehow I knew it was important. With the key in hand, I straightened up, my resolve solidifying. The children needed me, and I was not backing down from this. But as I turned to leave the park, I sensed movement in the corner of my eye. Fear gripped me again. Someone was watching. I turned quickly, heart pounding loud enough to drown out the whispers still echoing around the tree. My eyes darted through the shadows, searching for any sign of movement. The park was empty, yet the air felt thick with presence. I squinted into the shadows, half expecting some monster to jump out. Each rustle of leaves sounded amplified. Then I saw him, a figure standing just meters away, partially hidden behind a cluster of bushes. He was tall and cloaked in darkness, his features obscured by a hood. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I was rooted to the spot, clutching the key like a lifeline. "Who are you?" I called, trying to sound braver than I felt. "Emma," he replied, his voice low and smooth, but laced with a strange familiarity. "You're looking for something important. How do you know my name?" Panic threaded through my voice. He stepped closer into the dim light, and I caught a glimpse of his face. He looked surprisingly young, his deep-set eyes glistening with secrets. "I know more than you think. Stay away from me." I took a step back, holding the key defensively. "The children," he said, ignoring my fear and the barrier I was trying to put up. "They can't leave without your help, but neither can you." "What do you mean?" My voice shook, but I needed answers. "I can guide you. I can show you where to find what you're really looking for." Something in his gaze held me, a mix of intrigue and dread. The very nature of his offer set off alarm bells in my head. It felt dangerous, like stepping into deep waters without knowing how to swim. "Why should I trust you? They call to you. You're meant to help them." Against my better judgment, I felt an odd tug in my chest, as if his words resonated with a part of me that I didn't yet understand. But the urgency of the children urged me to pay attention. "Where do we go?" I finally asked, the keystone of determination settling within me. He gestured towards the thick of the trees. "Follow me. But know this, not everything will be as it seems." We walked deeper into the park, the shadows shifting as we moved. With every step, I felt the weight of the key in my pocket, a constant reminder of my purpose. Then, without warning, the ground trembled beneath us, sending a jolt of panic through my veins. The atmosphere thickened, and the whispers grew louder around us. "I have to go back," I said, turning on my heels. But he caught my arm, his grip firm but not painful. "You have to understand there is no going back now." That's when I heard it, a low growl, echoing from the darkness. Something was coming, something huge. Fear surged through me as I looked toward the sound, realizing that whatever it was heading straight for us. "Run!" I screamed, but it felt too late. The shadows came alive around us, and the only light was the key, glowing faintly in my pocket. Suddenly, everything went dark. I blinked against the darkness, my heart racing. A sense of weightlessness enveloped me, as if I were suspended in a void. Panic gripped my chest, and I panicked, reaching out with my hands, desperate for anything solid. "Emma!" The voice sliced through the darkness, pulling me back. It was his voice, the cloaked figure. "Where are you?" I shouted, struggling to keep my fear at bay. "What is happening?" "Trust me," he said, a flash of warmth brushing against my skin like a gentle breeze. "The key, you must use it." I felt for the key in my pocket, and its weight grounded me. The glowing light pulsed faintly, casting eerie shadows that danced around me. I clutched it tighter, focusing on its warmth. As if sensing my resolve, the darkness around me began to splinter, leaking into strands of light that ignited like fireflies. Slowly, I saw outlines emerging, the trunks of trees, the ground beneath my feet, and ahead of me, the figure again. "Follow me," he called, beckoning me through the maze of flickering light. I stumbled forward, my limbs feeling heavy, almost as if I were moving through molasses. The world around me faded in and out, revealing glimpses of twisted branches and shimmering leaves, like a dream within a dream. Suddenly, I was standing in a clearing. The darkness had receded, but the ambience felt heavy. The air was thick, saturated with tension. In the center lay a circle of what looked like oversized stones, ancient and imposing. "Where are we?" My voice wavered. He stepped confidently toward the stones. "This is where they're trapped, the children." A chill ran down my spine. "Trapped? What do you mean?" "I'll explain soon, but first, you need to place the key in the center of the circle. It will unlock the path to their freedom." I hesitated, my instinct still screaming for me to run. But what if it's a trap? What if it makes things worse? He turned, face serious beneath the shadows. You feel the pull, Emma. It's not just fear. You know what you have to do. The whispers returned, louder now, swirling around me like an indecipherable chant. My hands trembled as I raised the key, feeling its energy pulsing in my palm. It felt alive. Before I could second-guess myself, I stepped forward and placed it in the center of the stone circle. The moment it touched the ground, a surge of light erupted, enveloping me completely that I staggered back as a blast of warmth radiated through the clearing. Shadows twisted and writhed, and I could hear distant cries, children's laughter mingled with sorrow. What is happening? I shouted, trying to shield my eyes from the brightness. Stay strong. He urged, his eyes locked on the center of the circle. The connection is almost complete. The light danced until it coalesced into figures, shimmering like reflections on water. I squinted as silhouettes formed, children standing there, but not quite, their faces blurred with what looked like longing and fear. That is when a heavy rumble shook the earth beneath my feet again, breaking my focus. Something from the shadows was emerging, darker and wilder than before. A new threat loomed, and I knew instantly, whatever it wasn't friendly. Emma! The figure cried, urgency flooding his voice. We must leave, now. I stumbled backward, my breath catching in my throat. The intensity of the light flickered, and with it, the children's whispering grew frantic. Before I could process the fear and urgency, darkness surged like a tidal wave, and I felt myself being swept away once more. I gasped as the darkness pulled me down, a cold rush of air slamming against me. I couldn't tell where I was, only that I was moving. My eyes flickered open and closed, desperately searching for any sign of light or safety. When I finally landed, it was on solid ground, soft and damp. I rolled onto my back, trying to catch my breath. Above me, clouds swirled ominously. A chill crept into my bones, reminding me of the urgency tugging at my mind. Emma! The figure was by my side, his presence a flicker of warmth in the cold reality surrounding me. He offered me his hand, but I hesitated, uncertainty clouding my thoughts. Where are we now? I asked. What just happened? Somewhere safe, for now, he replied, his gaze scanning the horizon. But we have to keep moving, or it will be back. What will be back? I felt the knot in my stomach tighten. His jaw set, the shadows dancing across his features. The entity from before. It feeds on fear and chaos, and it won't let go of its prey easily. I took a shaky breath. We need to find the children. They're still trapped. He nodded, urgency flashing in his eyes. We scrambled to our feet, and I wiped the dampness from my forehead. As we moved forward, I caught sight of the place we landed in. It was a narrow path winding through dense woods. Branches clawed at my arms as we hurried past. Each snap of a twig sent my heart racing. Emma, stay close. He urged, tugging me back as I stumbled. Focus on the key. The key, it had been my anchor, my lifeline. I reached for it, feeling its warmth pulse through my palm. And just like that, my determination surged. Right, let us find them. After what felt like an eternity, we emerged from the thick trees into another clearing. This one was different. It felt familiar, almost nostalgic. In the center, a small stream trickled, its water sparkling like diamonds. But there were no stones here, no circle, no signs of the children. Where are they? I whispered, scanning the area. They should be here. Listen, he said sharply, focusing on the sound of flowing water. The air thickened again, tinged with whispers. It felt as if the trees were speaking, urging us to look deeper. Do you hear that? He continued, it's a call. I strained my ears, unable to distinguish the words, but the urgency intensified. Suddenly, from the corner of my eye, I spotted a flicker of movement by the water's edge. There. I pointed, excitement coursing through me. A shape was shifting near the bank. Emma, wait. The cloaked figure warned, but I took a step forward, curiosity overriding caution. As I got closer, the shape became clearer. There, half submerged in the water, was what looked like an arm, small and fragile. Help! A voice cried out, a desperate plea that shattered my growing hope. That's when I realized. I wasn't just searching for the children, something much darker lingered in the depths, waiting to pull me in too. I turned to warn him, but all that met my eyes was a shadow creeping from behind the trees, drawing closer. And with it came a chilling realization. I wasn't safe here. Run! I screamed, adrenaline jolting through me as I grabbed the figure's arm. The time for questions was over. Whatever was coming wasn't just a threat, it was hunting us down. We bolted down the path, the damp earth squelching beneath our hurried steps. I could hear it now, heavy, labored breathing not far behind us. I glanced back, a flash of darkness amid the trees, and my stomach dropped. Somewhere out there, that entity was following, its presence palpable, like a dark shroud closing in around us. Keep going. The figure shouted, urging me forward. We have to reach the other side of the clearing. I didn't know where we were going, but I trusted him. Panic made it hard to think straight. All I knew was that I couldn't let it catch us. Branches whipped against my arms, but I hardly felt the sting. My mind raced through the options. Where were the children? Were they safe? My heart ached at the thought of them trapped. Over there. He pointed to a small rise, a patch of ground that looked untouched by the chaos. If we get to the top, we might find a way out. I nodded, fueled by desperation. As we climbed, I caught a glimpse of the water below, shimmering ominously, and a small tremor ran through my body. I didn't want to think about what waited under the surface, but I could feel its cold grip trying to pull me in. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air, a child's scream. It echoed through the trees, sending chills down my spine. My heart lurched. No. They're in trouble. I reached for the figure, pulling him back as he continued toward the rise. We have to find them. I pressed, urgency coursing through my veins. Emma, if we don't reach higher ground, it will catch us. His voice was steady, but I could see the fear in his eyes. He was torn, just like me. Please. I begged, remembering the fragile arm in the water. There is something in the stream. We can't leave them. He hesitated, glancing back at the trees closing in around us. Finally, the decision flickered in his expression. All right, but we need to be careful. We turned back, slipping into the underbrush, and I referenced my instincts, leading the way toward the sound of the cries. As we approached the water's edge, the scene unfolded in horrifying detail. The water churned and twisted unnaturally, and there, just beneath the surface, I saw a face, a small boy, eyes wide and terrified, arms flailing. The water seemed to reach for him, dark tendrils creeping up his body. No! I shouted, instinctively lunging forward. The figure grabbed my arm. Wait, Emma. It's a trap. But I couldn't think. I couldn't let go. I waded into the icy water, my heart screaming for the child. The closer I got, the more I could feel the water pulling me in, as if it was alive. Emma, don't. He pulled harder, and I stumbled back, almost losing my footing. That's when I saw it, something dark and massive coiling beneath the water, manifesting just as the boy's terrified scream burst forth again. I gasped, realizing we were not just fighting for the children. We were fighting for our lives. Look! The figure pointed to the opposite bank, where shadows seemed to writhe. There's a way across. But as I looked back, the malevolent water surged, and tendrils of darkness lunged towards us with alarming speed, ready to consume everything. I could feel the oppressive weight of fear creeping back in, as if it were tightening its grip on my very heart. Run! I screamed, operating purely on instinct. The last thing I needed was to freeze in despair while that entity advanced. That we turned towards the bank just as the water erupted behind us. It was now or never. The rush of adrenaline pushed me forward. We sprinted along the bank, frantically searching for a way across. My legs burned with effort, but the fear of what lurked behind us fueled my determination. Each footfall felt heavier as the tendrils of dark water closed in, snapping like vipers seeking their prey. "Look for rocks," the figure shouted, eyes scanning the ground. "Anything to help us jump." I caught my breath, desperate to stay focused. There had to be a way out of this nightmare. I spotted a cluster of stones jutting out from the bank ahead. "Over there." I pointed, not wasting time to check whether he was following. I dashed toward them, my heart thundering in my chest. That as I reached the stones, the water roiled beneath me. It was like a living thing, angry and hungry. I felt the chill lick at my ankles, and dread clawed at my sides. No more hesitation. I leaped onto the first stone, landing awkwardly before scrambling to balance. "Come on!" I yelled, hoping he was close behind. That he joined me a moment later, his feet steadying on the stone next to mine. "We can make it," he urged, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. The water crashed against the stones, spraying me with icy droplets. Each wave sent tremors through my body, a warning that we needed to move faster. "Jump!" He sprang across to the next stone, barely making it. I held my breath, willing my legs to follow. I leaped, just making it to the safety of the next rock. I felt a surge of relief, but it was short-lived. The water behind us surged violently, as if it resented our escape. "Keep going. We have to get to the other side." He motioned to the next gap, but I hesitated. The boy, was he still fighting beneath that churning surface? My thoughts were chaotic, battling between the urge to escape and the instinct to save. I glanced back, searching for any sign of him, but the water thrashed wildly. "Emma!" His voice cut through my turmoil, reminding me we were running out of time. I swallowed hard, pushing back the panic clawing at my throat. The boy wasn't our only concern. I nodded and took another leap, landing next to him as the water roared with renewed fury. We were almost there. Just a few more stones. Then, everything changed. The air stilled, and an eerie silence enveloped us. I felt the hairs on the back of my neck stand straight as I landed on the next stone. Suddenly, something brushed against my leg, cold, slick, and unmistakably wrong. I gasped and whipped around. A shadow balled beneath the surface, a shape shifting just beyond my reach. What was that? I stammered, fear settling deep in my gut. "It's in the water," he shouted, eyes wide. Then, with a deafening crash, the water erupted into a monstrous wave, spiraling upward. It was like a curtain, dark, terrifying, and ready to strike. My heart dropped into my stomach. "Run!" I screamed, but before I could move, the wave came crashing down, and everything went dark. I gasped awake, the cool night air wrapping around me like a shroud. I was lying on the ground, soft grass beneath me, the stars twinkling above. My heart raced, a remnant of the terror that had engulfed me just moments before. Where was I? I bolted upright, scanning the horizon. There were no signs of the dark entity, no angry waters swirling at my feet. Just the serene quiet of the park, the trees rustling in the gentle breeze as if they were releasing the tension that had gripped them before. I felt disoriented, unsure if I had survived or if I was still caught in a nightmare. "Emma!" A voice called, and my heart leaped. I recognized it instantly. It was him, the cloaked figure. Relief washed over me as he stepped out from behind the nearby trees, a look of concern washing over his face. "You're awake. Thank goodness. What happened?" I asked, my voice shaky. "What about the kids? And the water? Where are we?" He approached me carefully. "You broke the cycle," he said. When you placed the key, it disrupted the malevolent force that trapped the children. It was an unstable prison, and the light you created caused its hold to shatter. But the children. I struggled to process his words. Had I truly freed them? I don't know, he replied, his voice tight. But one thing is clear. The darkness you faced was a manifestation of their entrapment, and in breaking it, you may have set them on a path to finding peace. I swallowed hard, conflicting emotions swirling inside me. Did that mean they were safe? Did the veils of anguish that had bound them finally lift? What about you? I asked, searching for anything to put my mind at ease. Are you free, too? He hesitated, shadows dancing across his features, evoking an uncertainty that sent a chill down my spine. I am connected to this place, Emma, and its history. I have my own journey ahead. His eyes glimmered with a mix of sorrow and something else that felt impossible to pin down. But your strength brought light. You are free to choose your own path. I searched for the right words, something meaningful to say. A thank you felt inadequate, and yet I didn't want this moment to slip away unacknowledged. I'll remember you, I said finally. This will always be a part of me. Remembering is different from dwelling, he replied gently. Some things must remain unresolved, drifting in the shadows. But you have the power to find your way. In an instant, the world around me shifted. I felt a pull, something drawing me back towards home. It was undeniable, the whisper of normalcy promising an escape from this nightmare. I glanced back at him, uncertainty seeping into my resolve. What if it's not over? What if they're still out there? He turned away, his silhouette retreating into the depths of the trees, becoming just another shadow against the moonlit night. Some mysteries are not meant to be solved, Emma. Trust yourself and let them go. I took a step back, gripping the key tightly in my pocket, its warmth still pulsating against my palm. The figures of the children faded into my mind, their faces blurring around the edges like distant memories. I was a survivor standing at the threshold of a world that felt both familiar and foreign, stitching together the seams of what was left behind. With one last look into the darkened woods, I turned away, my heart heavy with unanswered questions and the remnants of fear lingering just beneath the surface. Would I forget? Could I forget the laughter? The cries? The darkness? A part of me always would remain haunted by the uncertainty of what lay in Millwood. As I headed toward the path leading back home, I felt the cool breeze wash over me. Life around me returned to its calming cadence, the chirping of crickets, the rustle of leaves. I knew I was leaving a piece of my heart behind, yet I also felt a flame of determination ignite within me. I wouldn't forget, nor would I let fear bind me anymore. I kept walking, my thoughts scattered like stars across the vast sky, wonders, mysteries, and truths left unspoken, drifting in the night.